6th of May, and you bang on time for TV47 Prime. My name is Debarl, and a hearty welcome to you, and thank you for joining us this evening. Now, recent interactions, that is diplomatic interactions between President William Ruto and Samia Suluhu of Tanzania, have sparked a regional debate regarding governance, youth activism, and disputed announcement of the refinery. Of course, at the center of these remarks is the issue regarding the oil refinery in Tanga, and also a regional coordination on managing dissent. How is that going to be? Tonight, of course, much later in the course of the program, we'll be joined by the following panelists. We have with us tonight Patrick Obath, who is the chair of KEPSA Foundation, not the vice chair, and we have also Dr. Martin Olo, who's the advocate of the High Court, and also we do have with us this evening Dr. Shem Ochodo, who is the chair of the Kenya Diaspora Alliance, and we shall be joined as well by Brian Weke, who is a political analyst. So a hearty welcome to you, and of course thank you for joining us on the broadcast. On the sign language desk is Catherine Simaloy. Now, the government is now assuring Kenyans that fuel supply is steadily returning to normal across the country, with Energy Cabinet Secretary Opiyo Wandayi stressing that there was no national shortage of fuel. Wandayi says the disruptions experienced in parts of the country were caused by a technical hitch that has since been contained, adding that distribution systems are being stabilized to ensure continuous supply, although Parliament has discussions underway on reducing fuel taxes in a bid to ease the cost burden on consumers.
After days of long queues and uncertainty at fuel stations, relief is now in sight for motorists across the country.
We have got adequate fuel supplies in the pipeline system.
The assurance comes from Energy Cabinet Secretary Opiyo Wandayi, who in a statement on Wednesday said the fuel supply distributions witnessed in parts of the country, including Nairobi, had been contained and did not signal a nationwide shortage.
The government fuel importation framework is what has enabled this country to be where it is. Otherwise, we would be talking of something different.
He attributed the situation to a technical and administrative hitch that distributed the smooth uptake of petroleum products by a section of oil marketing companies within the downstream supply chain.
We continue to engage very closely with our international oil company suppliers, the IOCs, together with their local agents, that is the oil marketing companies that work with them closely. And we have got no doubt as government that even in the worst case scenario, this country is not going to suffer any fuel shortage.
At the same time, attention now shifts to Parliament, where the National Treasury of Kenya has initiated the process of reducing fuel levy to ease pressure on consumers. Proposal, earlier fronted by Kiharu MP Ndindi Nyoro, also include a reduction in VAT, adjustments to the fuel levy, and subsidies aimed at cushioning Kenyans from rising fuel costs.
Reducing VAT by an extra 5%, that gives an extra reprieve of around 8 shillings. Reducing fuel levy by around 7 shillings. And also offering an additional subsidy of 5 billion shillings from Fuel Stabilization Fund. That also means around 12 shillings per litre. Wholesomely, we can be able to reduce the prices of fuel today by 27 shillings.
With the government assuring adequate national fuel reserves and urging calm among consumers, motorists can now expect pumps to stabilize, bringing an end to days of anxiety at fuel stations. Faith Wangare, TV47.
And still on that beat, Energy and Petroleum Cabinet Secretary Opiyo Wandayi has defended the proposed East African refinery investment at the Tanga port in Tanzania, stating that it makes commercial sense. Wandayi also justified Kenya's involvement in the Tanga refinery, noting that the country's commercial oil production that will begin by the end of this year in Turkana will not be enough to run a refinery viably. Stanley Nyarangita reports on a plan that is shaping as a litmus test for East African diplomacy ties.
President William Ruto's charm offensive in Tanzania to woo the country into supporting the proposal to build an oil refinery at the Tanga port continues to raise eyebrows, with Mombasa Senator Mohamed Faki on Wednesday pressing Energy and Petroleum Cabinet Secretary Opiyo Ndai over the Kenyan government's participation in the project.
It will be cheaper to upgrade the refinery than to build a new refinery altogether in another country.
Ndai explained to the senators that Kenya is on track to commercially produce oil by the end of 2026 through drilling in South Lokichar, Turkana County. While defending the East African refinery investment in Tanga, he stated that reviving the Changamwe refinery is not economically viable.
Petroleum economists tell us that you need some 300,000, 500,000 barrels per day to be able to run viably a refinery. And therefore, that informs the reason, that informs the justification, that informs the basis for the plan to establish a refinery in Tanga that will serve not only Kenya, but will also serve the other neighboring countries.
Foreign policy expert Professor Peter Kagwanja now says the refinery plan is a litmus test of the East African diplomacy ties. Kagwanja notes that despite the headline stance of Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu, who has publicly distanced her country from the project, she may eventually be compelled to give the refinery a green light.
Ruto went to Tanzania politically, not diplomatically. And that's why big, important, and projects that have multi-generational impact find themselves caught up in this kind of conundrum of diplomatic rejection of, if you wish, diplomatic tiff between Tanzania and Kenya.
Right.
Yeah.
At the heart of the refinery investment is businessman Aliko Dangote, who in April 2026 stated that he could replicate his 650,000 barrel per day Nigerian refinery in East Africa, provided governments in the region supported the initiative.
While the proposal to build an oil refinery at the Tanga port in Tanzania presents an opportunity for the East African community to reduce its fuel reliance from external suppliers, the refinery's future rests on Tanzania's willingness, according to experts. Stanley Nyeringita, TV47, Nairobi.
And human rights activists in Kenya on Wednesday expressed their anger, pointing fingers at President William Ruto for allowing Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu Hassan to advise him on how to run democracy. Remarks that included suggestions of cracking down on critics of both governments.
Tusiwe wa Tanzania au wa Kenya. Wakija kwangu nachapa mikwaju, wakija kwako chapa mikwaju.
This statement by Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu Hassan has been interpreted by human rights activists in Kenya as a sign of suppressing citizens' freedom across the East African region.
It is not Ruto nor Samia who is inventing mikwajos. Mikwajos have been there since this earth was created.
Speaking to journalists on Wednesday in Nairobi, the activists strongly condemned President Samia Suluhu, urging that the law of the two countries are not the same. They called on her to stop interfering or offering guidance on Kenya's democratic processes.
Hatutaletewa tafsiri mpya ya demokrasia. Tunajua haki zetu, tunajua nchi zetu zinapopaswa kuelekea kiuchumi.
William Ruto, present at the event, appeared to endorse a statement signaling tacit approval for this hardline stance. In doing so, she invoked a method of misrule East Africa already knows too well.
According to the activists, this interpretation raises concerns that there could be a scheme between the two leaders to undermine stability and potentially incite interest ahead of the 2027 general elections.
When the Kenyan people put you in power, they did not expect you kuenda kupewa mawaidha na rais bandia wa Tanzania.
Instead, human rights defenders are calling for establishment of an independent commission to investigate cases of abductions, enforced disappearance, and extrajudicial killings.
We cannot be having a situation whereby we are discussing compensation, reparation, and the presidents can tolerate a discussion that goes against the very, very principle.
The activists also want compensation provided to all victims in both countries. Kenyan human rights activists have vowed to continue safeguarding and fighting for civil liberties across East Africa.
And police in Thindigua and Kiambu stations moved in to recover TV47 production equipment from suspected goons currently occupying the disputed Kasarani land. Our reporter Mudhoni Brenda was on the ground and filed this report.
This text received at 8:10 a.m. from the editor-in-chief on Wednesday only meant one thing. The Paradise Lost Kasarani land saga was still on and a spot check was due. With a camera person fondly known as Buju behind the lens, our driver Kioko on the wheel, and guided by past experience, I opted to move with a fellow reporter, Faith Wangari. About a kilometer from the disputed land, we started noticing men in twos and threes along the roadside. Kioko joked that they are informants, feeding intel inward. Kioko slowed down as we approached the fenced-off section of the disputed land. This time, there were more than 10, some stationed along the roadside, others inside a pro-box parked at a distance. Then, a rough-faced man in a brown safari hat clutching a walkie-talkie stopped our vehicle. He demanded to know where we were headed to, and we told him Paradise Lost. He casually directed us to make a U-turn. As we made the U-turn, the rough-looking man instructed a group of about 15 men to take positions on either side of the road. By now, our hearts were pounding. This was the only route. We had no option, though in hindsight, we probably would have pushed through anyway. We're journalists after all. The rough-faced man flagged us down, and within minutes we were surrounded. Kioko was ordered to surrender the keys, and upon hesitation, slaps started descending on Kioko. When they saw the cameras, they got angrier, grabbed them and ordered us to drive off. One quick call to the editor-in-chief and we all regrouped at Four Ways in Thindigua. Police moved fast and escorted us back to the scene. The goons? Gone! We drove to the nearby Runda Mamwe police station, and there it was a different scene. Officers everywhere, one suspect found in possession of broadcast equipment arrested, our equipment recovered, untouched and intact. From documenting events to becoming part of the story, this is the reality many journalists face on ground. Even as the equipment is recovered, the experience leaves behind a bigger conversation on safety and accountability. Mudhoni Brenda for TV47.
Right, let's turn the crack now to politics, where leaders of the Linda Mwananchi movement have filed a formal complaint at the offices of the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, DCI, protesting what they describe as harassment of an aide to Embakasi East MP Babu Owino. Led by Siaya Governor James Orengo, the leaders claim that security agencies are targeting the aide without following due legal process, alleging that the actions are politically motivated.
The Linda Mwananchi political group has strongly condemned what it terms as the misuse of police officers to advance political agendas without proper justification. Speaking after presenting its complaint at the DCI offices, the leaders of the group said the alleged harassment is part of a broader scheme to silence dissenting voices, warning that such actions could undermine democracy.
Tumekuwa tukiongea tukisema kwamba maafisa wetu wanatumiwa vibaya. Maafisa wanatolewa hapa DCI headquarters. Wanatolewa hapa na masubaru, ni DCI ambayo inaongozwa na Kiptum pamoja na Kariuki. wanaenda na Subaru mpaka kule Kisumu, wanashika vijana, especially after hii rally ya juzi ambayo tulifanya.
Addressing claims around the alleged arrest of his security officer, Member of Parliament Babu Owino claimed that some officers have admitted to being misused by their superiors, strongly criticizing the trend. Babu further pointed an accusing finger at senior government officials, alleging their involvement in the rising trend of goonism in the country.
Why are you going for him? You must explain to us why it is right for you to go after Oliver and you don't want us to go after you. This man called Boy Akoth, after that incident at the funeral in Seme, he sent a message to one of my officers saying that, you see what you have done to him? This is not the last day. We'll continue doing the same. But we shall not take it lying down.
The leaders are now calling on the DCI to conduct an independent investigation and ensure accountability, vowing to continue defending civil rights. For TV47, I'm Linda Alela.
Now, DCP party leader Rigathi Gachagua is now alleging that certain figures within the Jubilee party are now being used to advance President William Ruto's political interest within the opposition. Speaking during public engagements in Gatanga constituency, Murang'a County, Gachagua claimed there is a calculated scheme to create the perception of a divided opposition ahead of the next general election. TV47's Sydney Chazima has more.
DCP party leader Rigathi Gachagua has today centered his attention on the opposition's choice for presidential flag bearer, which is now seemingly stoking divisions in the united opposition. Speaking during public engagements in Gatanga constituency, Murang'a County, Gachagua has now hinted that despite the opposition's push for a united front, elements within the Jubilee party are pulling in a different direction. The former second-in-command now appearing to hint that there could be people in the opposition who are working with the government.
Jana nimeona kiongozi moja wa chama ambaye iko katika upinzani ameenda pale kwa TV kujaribu kuleta uhasama ndani ya viongozi ya upinzani. Ati anasema Rigiji akisimama ati Kalonzo ataenda wapi? Ati Rigiji akisimama Matiang'i yako wapi? Huyu ni kiongozi anajifanya ako pande yetu, lakini anatumika na Kasongo kulete uhasama ndani ya viongozi ya upinzani.
Gachagua's remarks come in the wake of Jubilee's Jeremiah Kioni's recent interview with a local radio station, where he claimed that it was getting late for the opposition to name its presidential flag bearer. But despite the accusations, Gachagua insists the opposition will field a single presidential candidate, maintaining that all leaders will rally behind whoever emerges victorious.
Yule kiongozi atapeperusha bendera yetu, tutakuwa zote tumekubaliana na Wakenya ndio tukuwe na one candidate peke yake ya kupambana na William Ruto aende nyumbani.
Meanwhile, as the Olkalao constituency by-election approaches, Gachagua has warned young voters against selling their national identity cards, accusing some quarters within the government of resorting to desperation.
Mimi naambia vijana wa Olkalao, tafadhali msiuze haki yenu kwa Kasongo. Msiuze vitambulisho kwa Kasongo. Kwa sababu pale anajua hakuna mtu ya kumchagua. Sasa hivi vijana anawaambia wauze vitambulisho.
And as accusations of infiltration and counterclaims of unity collide, the opposition now faces its biggest test, proving it can forge a united front even after its suitable presidential flag bearer is settled upon. Sydney Chazima, TV47.
Now, the entry of Linda Mwananchi into the opposition camp ahead of the next year's general election has jolted the United Opposition Alliance after reports emerged on the possibility of Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna becoming Wiper Party leader, Kalonzo Musyoka's running mate, in next year's presidential election. The development comes as revelations emerged that Jubilee Party leader Fred Matiang'i is now weighing his options on whether to go it alone in 2027 as the Linda Mwananchi camp is said to have the blessings of retired President Uhuru Kenyatta. Apollo Kamau has more.
The entry of the ODM splinter group Linda Mwananchi into the country's opposition politics has rattled the united opposition after insiders leaked a plot to have Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna deputize Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka as his running mate in next year's presidential election. Insiders in the Wiper Party camp say Kalonzo has held several meetings with Linda Mwananchi leaders, the latest being last week.
Maono yangu ni kwamba Linda Mwananchi na alternative government in waiting zote tunaendelea na kuwasiliana. Kwa sababu lazima tuokoe nchi.
Sources indicate the movement's growing popularity has raised the stakes in the opposition's search for a winning team to face President William Ruto in the August 2027 polls. The new push complicates an earlier plan to have a Kalonzo Fred Matiang'i ticket within the united opposition after the principals failed to agree on a formula, including a retreat to pick a presidential flag bearer. Jubilee Deputy Party Leader Fred Matiang'i, who is likely to be a casualty of the proposed Kalonzo-Sifuna joint ticket, is said to be concerned by former President Uhuru Kenyatta's perceived backing of the Linda Mwananchi camp amid financing claims, despite denials by Siaya Governor James Orengo.
I guess if Uhuru had intention to give us money, since the others are getting money from Ruto, why not? Why not?
Matiang'i is said to be considering running on his own, despite resistance from within the Jubilee Party, having failed to secure a meeting to chart his political path. His allies accuse him of not forming his own outfit earlier, upon returning from the United States to gain a head start in the opposition.
Of course, we will work with all people who want change in this country. We will work with all people. I mean, I don't know how many of us would like to see this administration in power 1 minute longer. We will work with everybody who is in that particular mold. And then Linda Mwananchi is very much in that particular arrangement. We will work together.
Latest developments within the united opposition point to the emergence of two rival camps. DCP party leader Rigathi Gachagua, who supports Kalonzo's presidential bid, has been holding joint meetings with Kalonzo Musyoka, Eugene Wamalwa, and Justin Muturi. PLP party leader Martha Karua, Fred Matiang'i, and PNU's Peter Munya have largely kept off from the Kalonzo-Gachagua rallies. Apollo Kamau, TV47.
Well, to churchy matters now, where the National Council of Churches of Kenya has officially banned political rhetoric within houses of worship, aiming to restore spiritual integrity and eliminate the commercialization of the pulpit by elective leaders. The decisive move ensures that altars remain sacred spaces, free from campaign speeches and the grandstanding of influential figures. Beyond the sanctuary, the NCCK criticized the government over rising living costs, systemic corruption within the Shah health system, and the exploitation of unemployed youth for political violence, demanding immediate tax reforms and the restoration of national safety and integrity.
We will not allow politicians to address congregants inside the church, and will instead advise them to speak to the people outside the church building after the service.
We call on the government to review the heavy taxation on petroleum products, which remains the single largest contributor to the rising cost of production and transport. We demand that the government curb wasteful expenditure and redirect resources towards agriculture subsidies that will lower the price of food at the source.
Now, the Central Organization of Trade Unions, COTU, has strongly condemned the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, accusing him of making unwarranted attacks against the Workers' Union and its leadership. The union also defended Secretary General Francis Atwoli, dismissing Gashagua's proposal for a rival workers' body and accusing him of misunderstanding Kenya's labor history.
Central Organization of Trade Unions, GOtv, has criticized statements made by Rigathi Gachagua, saying his remarks are aimed at weakening the workers' union. The federation described his criticism as a tactic to seek popularity while questioning his intentions.
That if we work with the government, then we are necessarily UDA members. We are not. We work with the government of the day to facilitate running of this organization. The workers are the main drivers of economy in this country. So if we have to create a situation where everything that the government does you have to oppose for the sake of it, then I think we shall have lost it all.
GOtv also defended its long-serving Secretary General Francis Atwoli, stressing that his record of championing workers' rights is distinct from Gashagua's political approach. The union further highlighted the dedication of its leadership in protecting workers' interests.
He's individual, yes, he's our leader. But behind him, there is these men and women who are here. So the question of saying he has let workers down, does not arise. Because individual union will always deal with CBS individually.
On Tuesday, Gachagua accused union leaders of betraying workers and signaled out Atwoli, claiming he serves his own personal interests. He also urged workers to form a new union to better defend their rights.
The people entrusted to speak for the Kenyan workers have abandoned them. The Atwolis of this world are a disgrace to the Kenyan worker. I cannot understand how workers every year, every time there is an election for GOtv, they go and vote back this mzee.
GOtv has dismissed that proposal, insisting it remains committed to defending workers' rights while warning against attempts to politicize labor union matters.
Nobody is going to divide us. We have been united. And many of you are wondering why we get elected on the post. Not because, it is because the workers we work with know what we do.
On formation of any other national center, we are not threatened at all. We are not threatened.
This latest confrontation signals growing tensions between Gachagua and GOtv leadership, with the union vowing to resist any efforts to undermine the workers' movement.
To the corridors of justice, where President William Ruto has officially appointed Justice Mohamed Warsame to the Supreme Court following a Gazette notice issued on May the 5th. The appointment comes after Warsame was nominated by the Judicial Service Commission on April the 29th, 2026, following a competitive recruitment process to fill a vacancy at the Supreme Court. The seat became vacant after the death of the late Justice Mohammed Hadar Ibrahim. According to JSC, the selection process involved deliberations and various applicants who had sought the position of Judge of the Supreme Court of Kenya before Warsame emerged successful for appointment. And the Deputy President, Professor Kithure Kindiki, has initiated urgent measures to restore security in Kitui County following a surge in retaliatory attacks that have claimed several lives. The government has now placed security agencies on high alert, intensifying operations to curb the violence. Suzanne Locho has more.
For some time now, the security situation in Kitui has remained fragile due to ongoing retaliatory attacks between communities. Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki says the government is committed to restoring lasting peace in Kitui County and addressing the growing insecurity.
We have been able to suppress terrorism in the Boni Enclave, northern Kenya, for a while. I believe even these resource conflicts and criminals hiding under resource conflicts to perpetuate crime, we will crack them.
In recent incidents, a total of 15 people have been killed, including 7 who died on April 25th in Seikuru after armed attackers raided a village in what is believed to be revenge attack.
For all recurrent crimes that keeps on reoccurring, whether it's banditry, terrorism, and other forms of organized crime, the easier excuse is the politicization.
However, challenges such as poor roads, infrastructure, and weak communication networks continue to delay rapid response by security teams.
I have done my part.
Authorities say the violence is driven by competition over scarce resources such as water and pasture, worsened by prolonged drought. Susan Locho for TV47.
Well, and that story by Suzanne Locho takes us up to a station break. We take a short break right now. As we circle back, we shall give you more. Don't go away. See you on the other side of a break.
Sundays at 8:30 p.m.
Good morning. You have my rent? Leo jioni kama tutakuwa tumelipa rent, nauza hii simu yako. Hamna pesa. I need 3 G's to make my nails today.
Sasa hivi natuhusu aje?
Can I order now? Do you ship? Can I get blinking ones?
Mimi nilikuwa na trade. Nimewekelea kitele yangu. Kitele yangu na trade. Ikakunyuma.
Oh my God. He left me. Nitumie ni line.
Uko nje kuna Wi-Fi.
Why? Hi-Fi?
Wait, so what do we call this dish again?
I have no idea.
The cucumbers are there specifically for my beauty routine.
Tamulini kero umeka kwa beauty product.
Na ameenda.
Tunafaa tukuwe na logo yetu. Like, si ni brand already.
You won't entertain divas. No. I'm not dealing with a man child.
Amazing. Nishapenda hii energy.
Sundays at 8:30 p.m. on TV47. Saturday at 8:30 p.m.
My father used to tell me that our hotel is the home for travelers. I guess I forgot that. Recently, it's been more of a mirror of my own ambition. We might fail. We will probably fail, but not for a lack of trying. So for the last time, and the first time, welcome to Connect In, the best experience in Eastern Central Africa and its environs.
Saturday at 8:30 p.m. on TV47. Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m.
This is a very serious place.
I see that.
Surely.
Hey, Nyumba.
This is the place.
Just for a few days.
Rule number 2.
Kwani Google inajua maisha yangu wewe?
That's my seat.
It's a chair. It was hers.
You're new here?
Yes.
You learned the rhythm. This place is run by structure. Structure. It is a system. Ni venye tu ni system haisikizi.
And what happens if something you haven't chosen enters your day?
I remove it.
That's not always going to be possible here.
Then you are going to have a problem.
Noted.
What are you planning? To escape from a resort?
This is not a resort, my friend. This is a storage.
Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m. on TV47.
Welcome back. Now, post-mortem examination of PCA Tabuga Reverend Julius Ndumia, who was found murdered at his home within the church compound in Lanet, was conducted today in Nakuru. Government pathologist Dr. Titus Ngulungu revealed that the cleric died of asphyxia caused by oxygen deprivation. The family of Reverend Ndumia has also broken its silence 3 days after his death, calling for justice. Mark Chalo reports.
Days after Rev. Julius Ndumia was found murdered at his residence within PCEA Tabuga Church in Lanet, a post-mortem examination was conducted at Tumash Funeral Home in Nakuru. The exercise was led by government pathologist Dr. Titus Ngulungu in the presence of homicide investigators. led by Director of Homicide Martin Nyuguto. Dr. Ngulungu revealed that the cleric suffered injuries to the neck, indicating strangulation which led to asphyxia. He further noted that the deceased had blunt force trauma to the back of the head, causing skull fracture and severe brain injury, as well as significant blood loss.
The cause of death ya huyo marehemu ni kukosa kupumua vizuri kwa sababu ya pressure to the neck, tunaitanga asphyxiation. Alafu kitu kingine ni head injury ambayo ilisababishwa na kifambutu ambayo ilingongwa kwa kichwa. Alafu hiyo laceration ilitokea kwa kichwa, ilifanya avunje damu mingi.
The family of the late Reverend has now broken its silence, describing him as a kind, loving and compassionate man. They called on the investigators to ensure those responsible are brought to justice.
We are so much devastated by this death, but with the help that we have received from the DCI and the rest of the team, we are satisfied with the results that they have come together with, and we are looking forward for quick justice for our brother.
Nimeweza kuongea na CS wetu Murkomen, PCS Interior, na tunatumai ya kwamba wao walifu ambao waliweza kumuua Reverend Ndumia wataweza kupatikana.
Meanwhile, homicide detectives have recovered CCTV footage from the church compound to aid in investigations. The church security guard who was injured during the attack has also been discharged at Nakuru PGH and placed under witness protection. Mike Cello, TV47.
May justice be realized. Now to another disheartening story where a fresh wave of outrage is sweeping across Kenya following a disturbing surge in femicide cases targeting women and young girls. According to activists from Vocal Africa, at least 27 cases have been reported since January, raising alarm over a growing national crisis. The latest incidents include the brutal murder of a 7-year-old girl in Kilifi, alongside other recent killings in Tharaka Nithi and Mombasa. Activists are now accusing the government of slow response and failure to protect victims. As pressure mounts for urgent action and accountability, our reporter Michelle Mwangi now brings us this report on the escalating crisis.
The rising cases of femicide in Kenya are painting a painful and horrifying picture of a country where women and girls are increasingly becoming targets of brutal violence. In Kilifi County, grief and anger have engulfed Mwezang'ombe village after the body of 7-year-old Benedicta Kezia was discovered lying naked hours after she was reported missing.
Tukampata amewekwa hapo, amenyeshewa usiku mzima. The whole night.
A post-mortem has since revealed that the grade 2 pupil was strangled, her neck broken and later sexually assaulted.
Post-mortem report tukaweza kupata kwamba yule mtoto aliweza kuvunjwa shingo, alafu akafanyiwa zinaa na huyo culprit.
In Mombasa, the family of 11-year-old Gloria Kezia is still reeling in pain after her lifeless body was found dumped following her brutal murder.
Kifika nakuta kifurushi kimekaa kama gunia, kumbe ni mtoto wangu yuko hapo. Wamemfunga mikono na miguu.
Vocal Africa reports that at least 27 cases have been recorded since January, with a total of 225 cases documented last year.
Right now we are demanding, because the numbers are way too big, they are way too large.
The organization now warns that these are not isolated incidents, but part of a disturbing pattern of targeted violence against women and girls.
These cases are being perpetrated by men who are supposed to be our husbands, brothers, sisters, and people who should be caring for us.
Activists are now calling on the government to declare femicide as a national disaster and take urgent action to stop the killings.
The government of Kenya must immediately declare femicide a national disaster
and establish a multi-agency emergency response framework.
The rising cases of femicide in Kenya paints a painful reminder of a crisis facing women in Kenya. Activists are now calling on the government to urgently declare femicide as a national disaster. Michelle Mwangi, TV47, Nairobi.
Talk of man's inhumanity to man. We condemn the barbarity that is really happening in the country regarding these predatory men who are seeking young girls to molest them. Now, the Kenya Medical Research Institute is in the spotlight following a legal dispute in court, raising concerns over the reliability of HIV diagnostic system in the country. A Kenyan patient is challenging findings by KEMRI, which state there is no evidence she was ever HIV positive, despite years of documented treatment in public health facilities. KEMRI is now being called on to offer clarification on the matter. Sheila Chelagat has more.
According to her legal team, Awino was first diagnosed in September 2023 at a government facility after presenting symptoms consistent with HIV infection. A second test reportedly confirmed the diagnosis, leading to her enrollment in care and initiation of antiretroviral therapy in line with national guidelines.
Mbona sahi wanasema sina ugonjwa? Hao watu wa KEMRI ndio walikuwa wanapima viral yangu kila wakati, kila wasaa. Ndio walikuwa wanapima viral yangu. Kuenda kuuliza viral yangu, madaktari walikuwa wananiambia, "Millicent, unaendelea na madawa vizuri, ndio maana hii ugonjwa iwezi onekana kwako."
The case, however, took an unexpected turn in late 2024 when Awino began testing HIV negative. She associates the change with participation in a religious healing event led by Prophet Dr. Owor, which she followed remotely. The findings prompted escalation to national authorities, including the National AIDS and STI Control Program, which authorized further investigations. Additional testing under KEMRI in early 2026 was described as inconclusive, with Awino recalled several times.
And they are now refuting that our client had the disease, yet in fact she was in all the systems according to the policy that is prescribed for HIV and AIDS.
The conclusion contradicts Kenya's HIV testing protocols, which require confirmed positive results before a patient is enrolled on treatment. Her legal team now says the case raises broader concerns about possible procedural lapses or systemic weaknesses in HIV diagnosis and management.
They know that if their kit was defective or they did a wrong thing and they have put her through this process of medication, there is mental torture, anguish and suffering. And they know this shall visit them. They must pay.
Awino is now seeking a formal retraction of KEMRI's findings and clarification from the Ministry of Health. The matter has also been reported to the Directorate of Criminal Investigations and references a separate case with similar claims.
Ati kadi yangu ati ni fake. Sasa ndio mimi nauliza ukweli, nitazaje kukunywa dawa na mimi sio mgonjwa?
Meanwhile, health authorities are yet to respond on the matter. Sheila Chelangat for TV47.
Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka attended the Requiem Mass of Professor Raphael Munavu at St. Paul's Catholic University, joining family and friends in paying his last respects. During the service, he praised the professor's role in the Konza Technopolis vision and called for support to make it a hub for science and innovation. He also raised concerns over university underfunding and challenges in the current education funding model.
We have heard a lot about the late Professor Munavu. What comes out clearly is cheerful, humorous and charismatic. A man who has contributed so much to the advancement of science and education in our country. I now remember Professor Chacha, the Three Musketeers. Professor Michieka. I once was Minister for Education. Professor Munavu, as you have heard, was not just a professor here, but also a community leader. That has been attested to my brother, Inea. And I think the biggest tribute we can offer to Professor Munavu is to make sure that Concert Technopolis succeeds. We heard you, we'll see you.
Now, the government, through the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock, is collaborating with the private sector, including Farmers' Choice, to implement a strategy aimed at strengthening a comprehensive pig farming program in the country by 2029. The strategy seeks to increase production by 35%, improve market access for farmers by 40%, and create a better environment that will enable producers to thrive in the sector. In addition, the strategy is expected to double per capita consumption of pork, with about 1.5 million households currently involved in the program. Pig farmers are being encouraged to form cooperative societies to facilitate access to training on improved farming practices, as well as to expand market opportunities for their products.
That is a word which I was born, so you are almost like you are home. That we are going to work together. So enjoy. It's supposed to end in 2029, and we should be able to
get us into those numbers and to tell us more about the proper AI, artificial intelligence, to be able to tell our story as far as
that use can discuss. Use.
To some sports now, where defending champions Kenya Police FC flexed their muscle with a hard-fought 2-1 victory over Murang'a Seal at the Nairobi, that is the Police Sacco Stadium in Nairobi. Elsewhere, APS Bomet FC secured a 1-0 win over KCB FC at Green Stadium in Kericho County. At Kwale Grounds, Bandari FC and Posta Rangers FC settled for a 10-1 draw. Meanwhile, Nairobi United edged past Tusker FC with a narrow 1-0 win. At the summit of the Kenya Premier League, record champions Gor Mahia FC remained firmly in control with 61 points, holding off fierce rivals FC Leopards in what is shaping up to be a thrilling title race.
Victor Hakiakwanyi Sani na ananyanyulia Mumbi sasa kidogo na Abudo marhaba.
Hii game ya leo imekuwa very tactical. The Murang'a Seal walikuwa wanajuania wanakuja kufanya, na pia siku vile tulikuwa tumewasoma, lakini tulifunga mapema na negative tuliconcede bao ambapo ilikuwa tu kulala. I think baada ya kufunga, badala sisi kuendelea kutia nguvu to relax, that's why Murang'a Seal wakaingia kwa game. But second half nashukuru tulirudi tena kwa game, tukafanya mabadiliko kidogo ikaleta nguvu, but tunashukuru I think a classic from Abud. So all in all tunashukuru kwa hiyo point 3.
Tunaendelea kujipanga na kuendelea kufight na kujaribu kurectify hizo mistake. Especially saizi tunafunga, tunajaribu kuangalia vile tunaweza kosa concede. Hiyo ndio doing.
To the Fast and the Furious, where Motorsports Kenya has urged the sports registrar to move with speed in completing the process of recognizing the body as the official motorsport federation in Kenya. This is after the High Court dismissed an appeal by the Kenya Motorsports Federation. Earlier on Wednesday, the interim official of Motorsports Kenya, that is MK, said elections will follow after the registration process is complete. Membership will be open to all clubs in the country before they engage the world governing body FIA.
The legal position is now settled. Motorsports Kenya is the lawful and legitimate governing body for motorsport in Kenya.
For our young children, we want them to have opportunities. and opportunities are there available all over the world.
In this next upcoming race on the 16th, where we'll have the autocross and autocross plus, I'm sure we'll find a few ladies that are sneakily joining.
In the next 1 year or two, we will get a few rally drivers from the villages competing with the big leagues like Hamza Anwar and the other top drivers.
Hopefully that is going to change. I mean, already with all the events 254 have been doing, it's looking very good. You know, the kids in the autocross are now driving quicker than the old ones.
Kenya's relay team completed the World Athletics Relays in Gaborone, Botswana, with a landmark achievement in the mixed 4x400 meters by breaking both African and national record with a sub 3.10 performance of 3 minutes 9 seconds 0.87. Our sports reporter Boniface Kimanzi has more.
Team Kenya received a rousing welcome on home soil Tuesday evening as the national relay squad arrived at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport following their campaign at World Athletics Relays 2026 in Gaborone, Botswana.
The introduction of a Kenya team will be cheered equally to Botswana team. So we loved it, and that is the African spirit.
We are so proud of ourselves kwa sababu tulijikaza because that's a global event.
However, Team Kenya's campaign fell short of expectations, with only one of the 5 teams progressing to a final.
Hiyo medal na lazima tutakuja one day na medal na si bali iko hivi tu karibuni.
The standard performers were the mixed 4x400 meters relay team, who advanced beyond the opening round with an impressive display.
The president told me to come and tell them that they did very well. And though no medal came, I tell them that the performance was good.
The quartet clocked a new African record of 3 minutes 9.87 seconds, securing a place in the final and qualification for the World Athletic Championships in Beijing, China.
Most of the relays we have qualified for World Championship 2027. So we are still coming. And we will be back strong.
Winners in Gaborone walked away with $40,000, while second and third place received $20 and $10 respectively. Team Kenya now shift focus to building on the positives from the competition as the preparation begin for upcoming global competition.
Wanapigia wengine makofi wakikuwa welcome nyumbani, lakini sisi leo tumepigiwa, so tunafurahi sana kwa sababu Wakenya wana appreciate chenye tulifanya kule.
Boniface Kimanzi for TV47, Nairobi.
All right, and that does it for the sports. That's how the cookie crumbles. Don't go away. Much more coming up on the other side of the break. Our panelists are already here, and we shall be having a very engaging discussion, just putting a follow-up on what was happening yesterday in Tanzania, that recent diplomatic interactions between President William Ruto and Samia Suluhu, and a confluence of other issues as well arising here in the country. But I'll be remiss if I don't show you what is coming up tomorrow on the front page of Star, and this is what you will be waking up to fresh off the press. The Star is holding this splash inside Ruto's 4.8 trillion shillings. That is 2027 election budget. That is what is headlining the front page of the publication tomorrow. Every allocation carries both a physical cost and calculated political outcome. The story is tucked away on page 4 and 5 of the Star. You have the highlights of proposed 2026-2027 estimates. I won't really belabor the point here. You can grab a copy for all this. The way it's been themed: agriculture, push, grassroots network, political projects, cost and land politics, youth and women, jobs and education, health and social. All that is, of course, sourced from the National Treasury. And we can scroll up to just see what is happening also on the teaser. Key ODM leaders sit on the fence as internal wars rage on. You have the story on page 6 of the publication. And also scientists discover why some Kenyans never get malaria. You can follow the story on page 2 of the publication. It's all about immunity. And these are the faces that we are hosting this evening. Patrick Obath, who is the chair of KEPSA Foundation, also will be holding court with Dr. Martin Olo, who's the advocate of the High Court and assistant dean at the School of Law, Desta University. Also, we shall be joined by Dr. Shemo Chodo, who's the chair of Kenya Diaspora Alliance, and Brian Weke, who is a political analyst and member also of the Linda Mwananchi. So we shall be talking diplomacy and also looking at the politics of the day in the country. Don't go away, much more on the other side of a break.